Hello, it's another Aurora. Today we've got a couple of big hitters. And one of them is up on screen in the Muse Score thing, and the other, there we go. That's more like it, isn't it? Hey, there we are. In fact, that's not the other. That's the same one. We've got good old Runaway. Yeah, key G sharp minor, / B major. This is another one where we're talking about harmony and melody, by the way. It should be apparent in the title of the video. Another one like whichever one it was we talked about. Like Awakening, where we don't have a really strong feeling of minor or major. We have minor chords being more prevalent in some areas and major chords being more prevalent in other areas. And we also have I don't do the noodles this year, at least. Might do them in the future. By the way, I have a bad cough. We will see how the harmony progresses, but basically I might consider some parts in major and some parts in minor, depending on the sort of prevalence of that particular major chord, B major, or that particular minor chord, G sharp minor. Those are the general two homes we're going to have in this piece of music. Let's just have a listen to this beginning, shall we? Go back again. No. Yes. Yes, I need to remember to always look at cobas when we're listening and then deal with the other thing later. Okay, so there's our beginning. Now, I have my questions about the rhythm that I've written for this when I listen to that, because the especially the more melismatic ones, it feels like that rhythm is a little more syncopated than this. Let's just briefly talk about the rhythm here. We are in the time signature of 6/8, which means that instead of the standard 4 beats, we've got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, normally, when we get above 5, people like to think about how to deal with these beats, not as one long string of 6, but in subdivisions or superdivisions, I suppose. Of these beats. So normally what happens with 6 is we take 3 of them, and we take 3 of them, and we make 2 big beats. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and what I've written here is no, it isn't. That's how it sounds, kind of, but it's not that. But it doesn't really actually sound like that to me right now. So I'm going to have another listen and see if I can come up with a better one. No, the problem is when I beat it out, it suddenly makes the space work again. I think because there's so few beats in the accompaniment here, it's really just open space, especially on that first chord. There's nothing happening, there's just voices. It makes the beats mash around in my head, but when I come to actually focus on them, they form into the appropriate thing, which is this rhythm. But anyway, we're not talking about rhythm today. We are talking about these harmony chords to begin with. We've not got too much melody to begin with, have we? But we've got 2 big chords. 1 of G sharp minor, I've helpfully written there. Followed by the 7. Okay, so this is as if just stepping down one, down to 7, and then we go back up. Okay, so it's simpler harmony than in the past 3. Well, arguably not simpler than the beginning of Under Stars, which treated harmony in quite a different way, where we kept on one chord for a significant amount of time before changing it. Here, we're not doing that. Well, we're having 1 chord a bar, which is kind of our standard. That's been pretty much what we've done for every other piece of music so far. Or for the other 2. We've not talked about many, have we, in this round of what's going on. So we're keeping 1 chord, but we're not doing a 4-chord loop like we had in Puppet or in Awakening. We're doing only a 2-chord loop. So in that respect, it's simpler. The harmony is basically we have a low voice ooh, and we have Aurora's voice ah, ah. Okay, so the lower voice is only there on that first one, so we go ah, with the but then doesn't have one, but then does. This is using quite a classic thing with a melody, quite a classic trope, if you like, where we finish the melody line later, so after this first 2 bars has already started to repeat. Right, that's where we would get the repeat mark for the 2 bars. It finishes after that, and then we come in with the same melody, but we don't do the whole melody again because we've already come in where that melody should have come in. We instead come in later with that melody. So it's almost as if the melody is different, and it is just in one particular way. It's just that the first note is shorter because we don't have as much time to sing it in. That's the only change that happens between these first 2. The second one, instead of doing that same thing, which it could do, we could have long for the first one, short for the second one, we could keep doing that, but it doesn't do that. For the third one, we come in like the first one, only we have a little more harmony. We have a lower voice just underneath Aurora's main one, rather than right? If I struggle with some of these lines, it's to be expected. My voice is extremely low today. But that's what we've got there. Okay. So it just adds 1 extra line for that repeat then, and then 1 extra for the second set as well, so the later set, instead of this one being so this one is right, like that. That's how they go together. And it's interesting that because the harmony line is going from lower in the first half to higher in the second half. It's an interesting thing to do, not that common, but it does happen occasionally. I'll always point it out. Melodically we don't have too much variation or deviation from the bass chords here. This melody note is part of the chord. This one changes exactly when the chord changes, and the chord is based only on the voices anyway, so of course it would. So that's good. Sorry, I might just need to find a monitor. Give me a minute, I'm just going to pause. back again. Sorry about that. As much as I loved this baby of mine, don't want it, you know, being broadcast to everybody as much as I can. Yes, also, yes, you're right. I should be looking after it more. Being given this amount of grace by my wife, and I'm very grateful. Water. So yeah, we really don't have much deviation at all from the chords. On that second one, we do have this melisma, right? And really the only note that's not in the chord there is that one. We just go up one note and come back. Auxiliary note. Some might consider it an escape note. It's not strictly an escape note. The classic term, the classic use of the word, but it kind of is because it's going in the wrong direction. And then it comes back, and then we jump to another chord note, and then we move chord. We move with the chord. So everything is quite comfortable and sticking together in this strong unit. We've only got one bit of a little bit of extra excitement there in the melody, but it's, you know, it's effective by itself, isn't it? It's simple but effective. Interesting though that we don't actually hear that music again after the beginning, which seems like a misstep. I don't know. She's made loads of different versions of this song, and yeah, and in none of them has experimented with having more of that beginning, which I say without having listened to all of them. There's always a chance that actually there is one with more. Please do let me know if there is. Anyway, let's get on to the verse. Oh, okay, moving on.
I was listening to the ocean. I saw a face in the sand.
So what we've got there, the accompaniment really is just those two chords again. And we have two phrases which are close, but not quite the same. The first one comes off the beat, so we get the notes below. I was listening to the ocean. Okay, again, like the first two, like Puppet, like Awakening, we've got quite a lot of words, and they're being fit into quite a small space. I was listening to the ocean. So we've got some going really fast and some a lot slower. Ocean given a lot more space than to the, very understandably. Listening also given a lot more space than I was. But then I, much longer in this next, well, actually, it's only a tiny bit longer, but it's at the front of the bar as well. I saw a face in the sand. Some nice slides. And that's really the only difference between these two lines, is that sand goes up, whereas ocean goes down. Other than I being long and on a lower note to begin with. I saw a face in the sand. Right? So we have very similar two phrases there. One with a downwards ending, so like a full mountain contour, whereas the other is a little bit more wavy, maybe. Okay, then what do we carry on with?
But when I picked it up, then it vanished away from my hands.
The big bass adds in really low. That's maybe the limit of what I can do today. The low E. Yeah, really nice, just added instrument there, taking us slightly more into the, you know, we've talked about this. This is textural stuff. But yes, this is now a really big mountain. Picked it up and it vanished away from my hands. We actually end picked and hands the same low pitch, but we go almost a whole octave up before that. So this is a really nice big contour, and very plain as well, very much just that mountain shape with this. But when I on the beginning, so not exactly perfectly that, but you could see that as the ending of the previous one, right? Sam, but when I picked, so it's almost like that's decided to come down the hill again. Yeah, nice. And we also have a change of harmony here. Instead of these two chords that we've had before, we have the 6. Picked it up, then it vanished away from my hands. That's the 6, which is E major, and then the 3. Now this is this relative major, this B major that comes here, followed by the F sharp major that comes afterwards, which is the 7. We've had it before here, but it feels quite different coming after the B and going to the E, because that feels like a much more upbeat song, those by themselves. But if they're coming from here to begin with, we've already set it in that kind of minor place, so they don't feel quite as bright as they would by themselves. They still that air of darkness that we've heard previously to this. And then we wait a little bit longer on that E. This is a more advanced relationship with harmony, and maybe not quite as in depth as Under Stars in some ways, but it's definitely more mature than the first two, having the harmonic rhythm change from 1 per bar to, well, it's 1 per bar, but then it's 2 per bar there, and then we wait and we actually have half of a chord per bar, or 1 for the next 2 bars. So having that harmonic rhythm, i.e. how fast the chords change, is quite an advanced thing to have, and we even have correlation with the melody doing that. Now, yeah, so sometimes we do, but when we get picked, we've landed on a chord note, and then we sort of build advanced structures on the top. If this is the 2nd note of the chord, then the 3rd, then this would be the 4th, and then this would be the 5th. We don't normally play with the 4th and the 5th. They're the advanced ones that make much more lush chords with a more sort of complex harmony, complex relationships within them, and they feel slightly more jarring than a nice. That's very straightforward, isn't it? But this sounds really nice, but it also sounds a little much maybe in some contexts. So we've jumped up each of those, in nice 3rd jumps as well. There's lots we could talk about here. I'm not talking about specific jumps most of the time. And then we come back down. So there we go. Vanished. Both of those chord notes away. Slight anticipation there of that next chord from my, and then we walk through da 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 back down to that G sharp, which fits with the E chord, and then we have this da, our most complex melisma so far. It's a sort of reminiscence of that initial intro section, isn't it? Da, but this is da. So it's it's similar, but it ends in a different place, and it comes from a different place. And starting on that note on the E chord is quite nice for those Led Zeppelin fans. Are you familiar with that? Dancing Days. A very strange Led Zeppelin song, but it has this really recognizable riff at the beginning of it. This is a sort of inversion of that, where we end higher. No doubt not a deliberate reference, though Aurora's catalogue of familiar music is quite wide. I doubt she's making a deliberate reference to Dancing Days by Led Zeppelin. It's very different to the parts that have come before as well, not just in that it starts on a non-chord note, although it does resolve, but also it's melismatic. So again, much more like the beginning than the versey verses we've got here with lots and lots of words. Yeah, fun. Yeah, nothing is particularly jumping at the moment. Everything is pretty comfortable, small intervals, and while we have these big contours, especially in the second half of the verse there, it doesn't feel like we're really going into a new kind of place all of a sudden. We're sort of building towards those changes in quite an effective way. Okay, next one.
I had a dream I was 7.
Okay, this is the first time when we get actually full chords, and they're played in those very dark synths in the background, quite low chords. Yeah, this kind of thing. But nonetheless, that's when we've got those full chords. We didn't have them before. We just had the octaves in the bass with Aurora's main vocal spelling out the chord do do do, right? So so the harmony there is more implied than explicit, whereas now it is more explicit.
Climbing my way in a tree.
Let's just talk about those. Very similar to what we had before, except the first one, remember, we had boom, I was listening, whereas this one is I had a dream. So this is more like that second one, I saw a face in a sand, but really, really similar, and they follow the same pattern. Well, 7, we come down like ocean, though again, there's a very big difference in that. 7, it's not 7, it's 7. So there's a difference of emphasis there by length of note, but the words are almost all, or the notes are almost all the same. It's just how the rhythm flows, and I think it flows in this one better than the first two, more naturalistically. I mean, you can think about how you would say these words, right? I had a dream I was 7, climbing my way in a tree. Climbing my way in a tree. You could do it, climbing my way in a tree, but that doesn't really feel how you would say it in a sentence. Climbing my way, climbing my way. Well, yeah, maybe a northerner. Climbing my way in a tree. Climbing my way in a tree. Yeah, interesting. We've got climbing my way in a tree. No, we haven't. Climbing my way in a tree. Yeah, I don't know. I could spend ages caring about that, but it's not really important, is it? That one though doesn't have the slide up, does it? It doesn't go tree. So again, little differences, making quite a lot of variation here. Next part.
A piece of heaven waiting impatient for me.
Very important word here. Waited impatient for me. That waiting. Yeah, waiting, given 4 notes for 2 syllables, so it's much more melismatic than the average here. And we even go up a whole jump to that high B that we've not come across before. It extends the whole mountain, goes up over an octave now. Before it was da 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 da, which is a whole 7th. That's big enough. But then we go up to that top B as well, extending it quite far, and it comes all the way down again. So why is waiting so important? That's not for me to say, but it's given a really unique treatment there, even with a gap before piece of heaven. Okay, so yeah, really different way of dealing with that in comparison to vanished away from my home. Oh yes, also let's note that it's not vanished away, it's vanished away, and there's quite an impressive dearth of E's in this. Okay, lots of the other notes of the scale, including the 2. Remember how we talked about how the 2 and the 6 are the ones which are not so commonly used in minor things. We usually use the pentatonic notes. 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Well, there's a lot of those. Okay, and there on the end of ting, waiting. That's our only E in this section. We get a lot of that too, though, including on this last melisma, which is the same the second time. It's that 2 which is causing that uncomfortable interval. Yeah, fun stuff. It's fun. I think you know, I am not on the Runaway train, as it were. I think it's not one of her most interesting pieces, but looking at it in this kind of way, it is clear that there is some cool, well-written stuff that I cannot fault, and the contour of the melody is really cool. The thing that it does with that off chord note is lovely stuff. Right, next section, a little bit of change of pace.
And I was running far away, would I run off the world someday?
We're not talking about rhythm, but if we were, we would talk about how it went from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and a 2, and a 1, and then in this section, yeah, what are the chords? So we've got these big beats. They sort of feel like they're the same length. But we've not got those little beats anymore. We instead got this rhythm of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's cutting those 1, 2, 3 into 2 instead. Okay, so this feels more like a 4/4 really. And I was running far away, would I run off the world someday? Apart from someday, where we go back to those again. So this is an example of polymeter, because it has a feel of 4/4, of a swung 4/4, despite still being basically in 6/8 like it was before, and it's done that by changing the emphasis pattern, so it's not da 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 anymore, it's da 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 da, and it's clever. It's a really clever thing to do, and really rare in any kind of successful pop music as well. So we've got different chords here. Let's just finish the section and then we'll talk about those.
Nobody knows, nobody knows. I was dancing in the rain, I felt alive and I can't complain.
There we go. Yeah, so 6 bars, chord 4 here, but I would say at this point we don't really think of it as chord 4. This feels quite happy now. We've changed rhythm, we've got everything very bouncy feeling. Anyway, chord 4 in minor or chord 2 in major, chord 4 in major or chord 6 in minor. We've had that before. That's our E major chord that we had before. So this 2 is a new chord. Starting a new section with a new chord, quite a powerful thing to do. And then, oh well, in this section we don't have the 6 chord, but we do have, sorry, we don't have the 1 minor chord, G sharp minor chord that was our home before. We do have the B major chord, which is our new home, if you like. So there's 2, da, 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 4, and there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, and yeah, 5 after that. So the 4 and the 5 and the 1, all major chords, so it makes this much brighter sounding than before. And the 2 is a new thing, so it adds excitement in that kind of way, even though it's not a major chord. I don't know, we can care too much about that kind of stuff, but yeah, the melody is pretty much on chord notes. We do have this kind of fun bit. Yeah, so what am I talking about? So two of those 6 notes I played there are chord notes. Not that one. That one. not that one, that one. Okay, so no, most of these notes are not chord notes again. We're doing. You could put those as chord notes if you had a B major chord. I was running far away, or even a G sharp minor chord. I was running far away. Suddenly, 4 out of those 7 notes are chord notes, so more than average. But if we have the 2 chord, that's no longer true. So so interesting. We've gone for deliberately something that is less than as comfortable as it could be here. I was running far away, would I run off? Well, now it feels a little more comfortable. But maybe not. Run off the world someday. Those are the same upper extensions that we've had on that 4 chord before. And we again resolve the same way to the 1 chord. World someday. Again, they could be just like an extended anticipation of that chord. I run off the world, because that is okay. The only note that doesn't fit there with the B major chord is that C sharp there. All the others are B major chord notes. So they sound much more exciting because they're not on a B major chord, much less safe. And then it resolves into that chord. Nobody knows. So we come down there, a little bit of a jump down to a non-chord note again. The nobody is fine, but then the nose is again an anticipation of where we're going. But by the time we get there, nobody. We've moved from that note. It's not nobody knows. It's nobody knows. Well, we still get the long high F sharp there for the F sharp chord. So we're still playing ball, but there's so many outside notes. It's really fun. And outside, I don't mean outside key notes, but outside chord notes. Nobody knows. Okay, and then, well, it does come down to the next chord note, but the big melisma on nose, again, standing out from the really syllabic stuff before it, around it. Nobody knows. Ends on that sustained 4th of that chord. A little bit strange, but then it does come down. And the "and" is this sudden extra word ended at the end of the sentence. It's fun stuff. Looking at these chords from the what's being sung angle, I actually really struggled, and this is a case fairly often, annoyingly. It's hard to hear exactly what notes are going on, but I've got so many notes. I'm just going to play you what I think is sung by the backing here. I'll try and do the melody at the same time. And I was running far away, would I run off the world someday? Nobody knows. And okay, so you can hear that there's this chord especially, which is just hyper vigilant. So many different notes on that chord. Give me all the notes. Yeah. So it's got it's got the F, it's got the E. The E more likely to happen in the harmony than in the melody. The melody doesn't have any E's in this section, apart from one, and I'll get to it. But yeah, we've got those. We've got the D underneath. So we've got this real clash between that E and the D. Okay, but it's sustained in the harmony, so it doesn't feel really in your face in the way that you might expect it to. As well as that ah in the harmony is going against the main melody. Someday run off the. There's loads of D sharp in that melody going against that note. And then we've also got the B and the G sharp. So they fit very nicely with that E. Having the D sharp, not so much, and the F, well, really it just makes that big major 9 chord that we've been trying to say is only implied up till now, but there it is. As we get to the B, everything becomes much more comfortable. We get that high B. And then, yeah, everything's much very straightforward on the 5 chord as well. In the next set, though, I was dancing in the rain, I felt alive and I can't complain. There's another E. Just a very quick one. Same kind of treatment that we got in Awakening, where we had behind the light. We added that just a little twinge of that more complex non-pentatonic note there. Same kind of thing that we get here. Can't complain. And slightly less complicated chords the second time round here. I think it's just these 3 notes that second time, which makes it clearer. It also adds more space in the mix for everything else to happen on. Okay, but no, we've made it to the chorus.
No, take me home where I belong. I can't take it anymore.
At the end there. Well, almost everything dissipates, doesn't it? We've got one voice and we've got a couple of chords, which I've not even written out. Yeah, we've got a couple of chords. We go straight onto the main 1 chord, the B major chord here. But no, take me home, I belong. No, I belong. Yeah. So it's 1, 4, and 5, 1, 5, and 4, like it was at the beginning in the verse section. Oh gosh, vanished away from my soul. This is same chords, a little bit more space, one per bar again. But no, take me home where I belong. Okay, but then we followed up with a coda. I can't take it anymore. Big crescendo towards that end note. It's just lovely. Again, not many melismas, but 1 to end the phrase here. It's almost like the most important word in each phrase is given a melisma, and it makes a lot of sense. Although, is any more the most important? It kind of makes it the most important word, that it has all these notes to it. More, so going up and down, kind of small trill, if you like. Before, well, if we think about how these go with the chords, but no, easy, take, easy, me home, unexpected E there, but it's just passing, going to the next one. And that's another chord note. Take is another one here, but me isn't. So it feels more connected to that previous melody than to the chord it sits over. Take me home where I, take me home, same thing. Home where I belong. And then neither of those are actual chord notes there. Belong. Sustaining on that major 7th of that chord, which has this innate sort of clash. It's not really a clash though, is it? I was thinking this to myself. I was thinking, when we get sounds like this, we need a better word to express what it is than clash. It's more like a restlessness, isn't it? It's not quite ready to say, all right, come to tea now. You've had your fun in the fields. Dinner's on ready on the table, and you can come in and stop your gallivanting about, miss. Come and sit down, have your boiled cabbage. It's not saying that, is it? It's saying, I want to remain in the fields. I like it in the fields. They're lovely. And so there's this conflict, but it's a happy conflict, if you like. And that's what we've got there. And then we get some more of that. I can't. Well, we've had one before. What like that? What was it again? It was our first. Oh gosh, what was it? Da da da. Yeah, knows I can't. Again, same kind of thing. Same shape. But then instead of knows I can't take, we go back up for take it anymore. So on some subconscious level, we might have made an expectation that this was going to go, I can't. Maybe. I can't take it anymore. So going back up for take emphasizes take a little bit and gives it some more meaning. It's also where the chord changes to this 3 chord. 3 is actually basically the rarest of the main chords. And I've not even written it in. Let's just listen to it again and see if I'm making it up.
Take me home where I belong. I can't take it anymore.
No, there it is. I don't know why I've not written it in. That's kind of weird. I think because it's not a full 3 chord, maybe it's just these 2/3. So it doesn't have the 5th to it. The 3 chord is really rare because it has, I don't know, there's loads of people that hate on the 3 chord. It has a slightly uncertain feeling to it, maybe, but I think it would be appropriate in this kind of setting. Yeah, but we don't get that here. We get the 3rd, which is kind of implying it, maybe, and the melody doesn't give us any more notes. It doesn't give us that potential for the 5th note there, the 3rd note of the chord. It goes, take it anymore. So it's pretty much, again, chord tones with moving around, and then we get our big melisma. Now this one though, more, again, that's a non-chord note, not with the 2 chord there. It's the added 2 or the added 9. It keeps going back to the chord note, that E there, and then eventually it resolves right before we get the next bit, just before we get that Anna in the background. Okay, I have a feeling I'm talking way too much about this one, so let's try and rush through this next verse. The main thing that is changed in this part is we have arpeggiated chords underneath from the synth, and they're not quite doing the chords we would expect. They're not doing 1 and then 7. This is actually more of a 7. Unbelievable! It's a bloody 7/6 chord, isn't it? I have to give you one of those, I suppose. There we go. Yeah. Or it's a 5 chord in 2nd position, or 1st inversion, if you like. So didn't expect that coming, but there we have that. That's what the accompaniment has given us. Aurora, a meme lord sent from the past. Very similar melody. Well, no, in fact, it feels similar, and it's got the same emphasis of the D sharp and then the C sharp, but we don't go down picture, and we don't go da da ba da up either. We stay in those 2 different places. So in that respect, it really is not the same as the first 2 verses. Carrying on.
Picture was a painting of you, and
whereas that one, very similar to the I had a dream I was 7, but again fitting several different words in, and the and again finishing the line rather than starting the next one. It's a really interesting choice. And not constant in this. We do have and I was running far away, so interesting. What about for a moment?
for a moment I thought you were happy, but then again it wasn't true.
Okay, yeah, we have a little chord movement at the end there, going up to the 7 in the minor, right? This F sharp major chord that leads leads us to the G sharp minor. So a little bit of extra added harmony, but it doesn't intrude on us there. It doesn't feel like it's giving us anything particularly new. It's just moving a little bit more. This is a very similar contour, but we do have a cheeky E here, but then again. There's our cheeky E. Da 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 da. And so we're making a little bit more of this ba da da da, note up, note down kind of thing, which is da 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 as well. And da 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 is also similar to that da. So there's intricate use of tiny motifs in here. Whether or not this is deliberate is hard to say because it's on such a low level. But to some degree you could see that's what's happening in Waiting as well. Waiting is note up, note down, but it's just with a bigger jump. So on one level we've got these big mountains, and on another level we've got these tiny waves. So fun stuff. Also, yeah, we get third harmony on the da here, which is nice. You know, I could just use musical for the whole thing and then I wouldn't get copyright stricken. But this way I at least know that I'm making mistakes when I'm making mistakes. Well, that's quite different, isn't it? It's still a mountain, da, dee, 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 but it's a higher mountain. It's going all the way up to the B straight away. Fun rhythm there as well, but we're not going into that because where do you even start? But whatever, we've got that, and we've also got a higher harmony which is sort of sticking as close as it can without that's not actually really true. So the closest it could be would be thirds, basically. Thirds is the nicest consonant harmony. Seconds sound like that. So if we were doing this in seconds, it wouldn't be good. So we're in thirds, or we're not always, but if we were in thirds it would be like that. So that kind of sounds quite nice, but we don't quite have that. We have so we have a fourth to begin with, then some thirds, but then they don't come back down together. So we get some fourths there and a fifth to end. So there's a deliberacy done to that extra line which makes it not exactly mimicking. It does the same rhythm, but it doesn't do the same intervals, and so they have a complicated relationship going through the lying. Maybe all this time is a slightly more like romantic, emotional moment, but then the lying is meant to become harder. You could potentially see that as a reason to do that in the harmony, but that's big brain stuff. I don't really believe that stuff. See if you can come up with a good reason for it.
Oh, lying in secret to myself.
Yeah, similar kind of harmonies there, but again they go up. So this is mimicking what happened in the first one, where we got the downwards ending and then the slide upwards ending for the second, but we're just on different notes. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a really clever idea, and you know, it sort of is something Aurora has played with already. This is only her fourth song released, but in Puppet, in the pre-chorus, that last time we just did a different melody, a higher melody. So there's precedent to redoing a section and doing the melody differently already, and that is what's basically done in this last verse part.
I've been putting sorrow on the forest place on my show.
Is there anyone else who hears, I've been putting sour on Sauron, the farthest place on my shelf. Doesn't really make sense, but it's got a funny way with words, funny way with pronouncing English sometimes. Not to be a snob about it, I quite enjoy it. But this is, again, kind of a different shape. Da, 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 da. Still happens, but that's a small version of this mountain with da da at the beginning, already going higher than the mountain. So there's various things about this melody here that's different, but nothing more so than this ending, which starts in 3-part harmony, these big triads. So we get the E chord underneath, and that is what we get over the top as well. Lovely E chord, and then that steps up. Oh no, what is it? Oh yeah, it's just going to be that, isn't it? So it steps up a whole thing. That by itself, beginning of some exciting Billy Joel song, no doubt. But then it immediately moves somewhere else. Crown Imperial. Nice. Good. An unexpected needle drop there, but very good. Yeah, have a go and have a listen to Crown Imperial by, I believe, Walton, if you wish. Actually, I'm thinking of something else. What am I? Yeah, no, I think it's Walton. William Walton, classic British composer. If I'm wrong, I will say so in the description for this. I will make sure to do that. And then we come back down again to the triad, and we have that top line, and the sort of middle line sort of disappears somewhere, and then we get fourth like that. Doesn't matter. Sounds like this with that low line. I was hoping that would play. Never mind. Yeah. So that's not da, but it sort of has the DNA of it. Again, it goes note up, note down. So it's got that little figure to it. It's just a different melody altogether, which is a really cool thing to do, as I keep saying. Then we get some of the same material. The only thing that changes in this next section is what the accompaniment is doing. So we get some more like full chords. This higher triad from the backing singers there. So it's a little fuller, but the melody is basically the same. And then actually the last time we get it, we get a smaller chord. Just these two notes, I think, that get through. The kind of most active notes, but still, yeah, a much smaller thing because there's more in the ensemble. So I'm just going to skip over that bit and go straight to the next chorus.
Felt alive and I can't complain. No, take me home where I belong. I got.
Now there's a bit here that I haven't managed to work out exactly what's going on, but the sort of harpsichordy high synth part is basically doing arpeggios of the chord, but it's not doing that. It's doing something slightly more complicated than that, which eludes me in it, just because there's so much going on in the texture. I can't quite work out the pattern of it, but it's irregular, or it's at least not. It's not just a casual up and down or anything like that. It's really fun. The other main thing that's added here are these oohs, quite high oohs. We've not gone up to there with the melody so far. The melody's here, and these, yeah, are a little bit lower. And yeah, it sounds by themselves. That chord sounds like a pretty minor G-sharp minor chord, but of course that's our 4 chord. So we're again cementing that major 7, that 4th note of the chord, as part of its main identity there. The other main thing that changes here is that we have a new phrase on the end. Instead of I can't take it anymore, we've got I got no other place to go. Again, with a few E's there. Okay, used sparingly, but sort of in important moments to emphasize that that D sharp, I suppose, which is probably the most popular note in the whole melody. Yeah, just to be a bit different to that, maybe. Yeah, a little bouncy phrase, doesn't have too much of its own identity, but keeps us going, doesn't it? Keeps us going on.
Can't complain, no, take me home where I belong. I got no other place to go.
Same thing again.
No, take me home where I belong.
Oh, but if there's two changes, one we don't go, but no, we just have no. And then the other, okay, where we jump up there, and belong, we go up there too as well. So in the same way as Puppet had some sections where instead of going, times I wonder did it go, times I wonder did it go, it went up like that. It's basically the same deal. It's just a slight variation to keep things exciting. And then the third time,
I got no other place to go. No, take me home where I belong.
sorry about that.
I can't take it anymore. But
So that time we didn't feel that 3. So we got no, take me home where I belong. I can't take it anymore. We just had that low bass note. More. With those notes over the top. And this time we don't come down at the end. More. With no okay. But otherwise very similar to what we had before. It just ends it in a really different place because of that textural change, doesn't it? And then our bridge.
kept running for a soft place to fall.
Same notes as we've got so far. Yeah, more of that 2 chord, that C sharp minor chord. So it's our least common chord, I guess. Our one of real not knowing where you are. Running. That is a chord note. That is not. But it's pretty much there. And then we go to the 4, and we get those 2 extensions as usual on this chord. And carrying on.
And I kept running for a soft place to fall.
Yeah, this is an interesting bit because because it's just these 3 notes, it sort of feels like it is missing that G sharp at the bottom. It doesn't feel quite as positive as normal. I actually don't know what is causing that. Let's just listen to it again.
For a soft place to fall. And I kept running.
Oh, I know what it is. It's the chord before is still in the reverb in the background, so we've got the G sharp in that, and then we get running. Okay, so it doesn't quite feel like this nice bright 1 chord because everything's so sparse. We get enough of that previous chord holding on that it doesn't feel resolved until a little bit later, maybe in the bar. Interesting, because again we've got that extended anticipation waiting for that chord to come, and then anticipation at the end for the fall as well. Soft place to fall, and finally get to that 5 chord. This is the same chord sequence as the pre-chorus, which is maybe why it goes so quickly into the pre-chorus at the end of it, and the pre-chorus is only 2 bars at the end as well. It's a really fun idea.
For a soft
There it is. Then
And I kept running.
really beautiful, strong triad harmonies again. So all three people, and again we've got sort of a held chord in the bass, but this chord over the top is a G sharp minor chord, and we've got a C sharp in the bass. So how can I play that? We want that and that and that. So yeah, this big, it's basically a C sharp minor 9 altogether, but that doesn't hold because it goes down to one of those. So with those two in the bass and that over the top, we've got these fun fights, or not quite sitting in the exact way you would expect, but because the texture is sparse and these are occupying their own frequency ranges, they're not clashing aggressively. It's just making this luxurious soup of tonal sound, diatonic sound, if you like.
For a soft place to fall.
Interesting how they suddenly stop for a soft, and then we get that big melisma again, sort of reminiscent of da, but it starts on the chord note and then it slides up to that major 7 that is so key to that particular 4 chord. Really nice. Different to the one before. The one before fell down, didn't it? This one actually raised up. You don't have to do word painting. Word painting would have fall every single time. It's boring. Do something that's actually interesting in the music before you care about whether the music reflects the words.
And I kept running for a soft place to fall.
Yeah, really nice at the end there with those chords. Sorry. We've got, so they're all moving up together in triads, but not quite exactly the same intervals. That middle one, which is the main melody, jumps over the next note, because it could go that would still be technically in key, but it jumps over that slightly more aggressive E note to the F sharp instead, and it feels very, very consonant, very lovely, and it's moved all the way to that 5 chord again. We started with the 5 chord, we went through the 6 chord, and then we came back to the 5 chord just in a slightly more jumbled fashion. Really nice what's going on with the harmonies there. They're quite complicated. Sometimes they're quite close, and then sometimes they do full chords, like so what have we got there? We've got that, got those, and then they all jump down, and then other times it's like that. So sometimes really close and sometimes really spread out. So doing a lot of different things in a very small space there, but because the texture is so sparse, it's just got this big empty canvas to do loads of things on. It's really nice, really good. Then we get more material that we've heard before.
And I was running far away. Would I run love the world someday?
And the most important thing about this third chorus is that next bit. And yes, where are we? I have got myself lost. That is not the right section. There we go. Yes, this new full choir. Oh well, it doesn't quite feel like a full choir, but we've got these higher harmonies that we had before. Can you remember those? We had those in the second chorus, but we've also got this really joyous major 6th jump. Whoa, really big jump. I think it's in a lower part as well, but it's hard to hear through everything that's going on. But I think we get it in both of those ranges, and then it holds for the first time and then it goes down for the second time. See if you can hear that. Here it comes again. There's a bit of a slide so you can hear it. Handy thing with a lot of Aurora music is that the singers don't bother, and partly it's don't bother with being absolutely accurate with these interval jumps. She's a very good singer. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's not ooh, it's ooh, ooh. Can you hear the difference? Maybe I'm being a little facetious there, but yeah, it's not a sudden jump to the next note. There's a slide in the middle, and to be honest, kind of sounds nicer that way. So very similar to the second time. All the main melody phrases sound pretty much the same, but we have that held F sharp through each of these chords, which is interesting because it is a chord note on the B, it is a chord note on the F sharp, it is not a chord note on the E, but this E has constantly had that D sharp and F sharp added to it to make it that big old major 9 chord. Yeah, lovely stuff. So actually this is a very different melody shape for this next bit. Same words, but instead of jumping up and coming down, it's da 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 ba da ba da. We're going upwards, and yeah, using the A there. Now we haven't had much. Sorry, the A sharp. Using the A sharp there as part of the melody. We haven't had a lot of that, especially in this section. It's not been there before. We've had more of the E in this section. But here we get it, and we get it on the right chord. We get it on the 5 chord. Oh, take me home, which has it as its second note. So that sounds really nice and consonant. It's a slight anticipation. It gets there just before the chord change, and then it stays just after the chord change. So we get, sorry, not in that bit. Home where I belong, home where I belong. Right, so it stays just long enough to slightly suggest a clash on the next chord, but then it's not there. Oh, and then it resolves into that chord long, and then it resolves a little lower again. Long, unexpected, but well, is it really unexpected at this point? Because that's our added 9, and that's our added 7, and then we get those no, no, which is lovely. Maybe what's slightly more unexpected is what the lower harmony is doing, because they're starting 5ths and then they go to 6ths. 6ths are like inverted thirds, really nice and sugary sounding, but 5ths are like inverted 4ths, and yeah, a little bit robotic. Then they stay in 5ths. And then you get that low A there for some reason. Oh, no, no. Let's see if we can hear that. I'm not entirely sure we can. Yep. No, it is there. It is there. No, no, no. What's that reminding me of? Oh. Like Nickelback, maybe, I don't know. Let's move on. So this going up rather than home where I belong, home where I belong, I guess is similar to I had a dream I was 7, da ba da ba da ba da. Similar kind of thing, descending for the first one, ascending for the second one. But on a longer time scale here, isn't it? Belong, same thing though. Oh, oh, and yeah, straightforward stuff there. Another repetition. I guess an important thing is, again, we get that Aurora pause, so we don't get home where I belong. We get home where I belong. So there's a little pause that I haven't written in, but yeah, it stops the long being actually a full thing. We have this pause before the next note. It's an interesting thing. Maybe I should start doing it and see if it's a diaphragm thing. It might make it easier to support.
No, take me home.
So now we've lost the harpsichord, we've lost most of the drums as well, but we've still got a lot of the voices, and you can hear that lower being belted out.
Home where I belong. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, so for that last one, we shout the big long, and then I can't take it anymore. Pretty much the same as before. Oh, we do have a slide off at the end there. Didn't notate that, but it's there. Cool. Well, so many things that we've talked about there. Use of specific notes in melody to emphasize particular sections and make them unique or make them different to the previous ones, like that A in the final set of choruses, which has not been used in the previous choruses, so it's really cool in that particular moment. Varied approaches to harmony. Sometimes it's really close, sometimes it's a little further, like a fifth or a sixth, sometimes it's whole choirs, sometimes it's spelled out chords, and sometimes we get the triadic classic thing that we get in loads of Aurora, and then sometimes it just disappears halfway through a line, like on this I Kept Running for a Soft Place to Fall. Really, we're continuing our relationship of being sometimes focused on chord notes and sometimes focused on being absent or being more focused on the pentatonic scale rather than a specific chord that it might suggest, or a specific chord that accompanies it being impactful on what happens in the melody. We don't get that here. I don't know, fun stuff. We've got ambiguity about major and minor again. In this one we have ambiguity about meter, which is lovely. But yeah, loads of things. We've talked about them too long. Now let's jump over to the next one. Yeah, let's save whatever I did to Aurora, to Runaway. Oh no! Oh, muse score. Oh, muse score. Why are you so muse-sore about me giving Cobos the main speaker output? I know. If I could give it to you both, I would. I'm trying to. And it has been working so far. So please just let me do this. How long have I been speaking for? 1 hour 13. That's a decent chunk, isn't it? A decent chunk of a song. I must have said something of worth. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. But I'm going to have to scoot through this one, no doubt, aren't I? Oh, it was opening, and it has now opened now that I've opened MuseScore again. What a strange program. If you're interested, Tantacruel is another person who posts on YouTube, and he is apparently in charge of the development and at least design development of MuseScore, and he convinced me it was worth every penny, but I've had some strange engagements with it.
Isn't it free?
Sorry?
Isn't it free?
True, yeah. worth every free penny. Good. Right. D Aeolian / Dorian. What? Well, let me tell you. Running with the Wolves is quite fun in its relationship to harmony. And Aeolian is basically our standard minor scale. Whereas Dorian is very like the minor scale, but we have one note change. And these changes come, well, it's only one change, but the changes from minor normally come on the 6 and the 2. They're the most sort of impactful notes of the key, the ones that are not in the pentatonic as well. And so we get on one side we get the Phrygian mode, which changes the 2 to be a bit lower and sounds a little bit darker because it does it. And then on the other end we have the Dorian, which changes the 6 to be a bit higher, and so it sounds a little bit more bright in that respect. In Running with the Wolves, we start in our Dorian mode, arguably, because you could make an argument that we actually start in A minor. But there's a lot of D stuff around, so I'm just going to say we're in D Dorian. Just go with me. If you want to argue, you've already managed to do the argument yourself. You don't need me, and you don't need to convince me, because I've already done the argument myself too. But let's just go with me here and say we're in D Dorian, which has this B in it, as opposed to D Aeolian, which is a D minor, which has a B flat. Okay, so that's one particular change that is fundamental to the harmony underneath what's going on, and we get that between two sections of Running with the Wolves. Let's see that in action. Here we go. Yeah, I love it. Let's carry on.
Go row the boat to safer grounds, but don't you know we're stronger now?
This great pattern in the guitar here. Yeah, and then we get this kind of glitchy. Yeah. Ooh, that's hard to play. Oh, okay. Need to go down even lower. That's impossible to play. Yeah, I really like it, and what I especially like about that, it spells out the chord. That's not what I especially like about it, and then it's imitated by the melody half speed. So we get da 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 da. So they're doing the same arpeggiated movement, big jumps here, but they're doing it in different parts of the harmony. Obviously, this is low. This is low. And the melody is basically an octave higher, but also the melody is not doing go row the boat, because that would be quite an extravagantly jumpy melody. Melodies very rarely jump a lot, and these have much smaller jumps, much closer together within a whole octave, and that's much more normal. Da da da, not particularly big jump, but then da do, that's a much bigger jump, and we just have one of those, and then we repeat it in the next phrase with a slide down, da 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 da, to what becomes a new chord note. Now, this da is a chord note, so I'm so sorry that this is so janky. Still too high, isn't it? do. Okay, so go is a chord note, and then row would be the extended fourth note. Row the. So maybe this is just something Aurora likes doing, extending the chords by one note. You know, it's not something you get in classic pop music. You get more standard harmonic language in pop music, but let's just say Aurora's past that, isn't she? She's doing something else. That becomes a chord note in that second chord, though. In that chord. So we start with a D minor chord, and then we have this F chord, which in D minor that would be 1 to 3, and 3 would be our relative major. So those are our, you know, two classic rest chords already. To safer grounds, that fits very nicely. And then we go to an A minor chord. Now, an A minor chord's a 5 in D minor. Minor 5. We haven't had one of those before, I think. So that's a new harmonic language in Aurora's book, but it's, you know, it's still a one we would expect for you know, it's diatonic, it's within the key, so it doesn't feel too foreign. It's just a new thing. But don't you know? And then we get the C, which is the 7 chord in minor. We've had loads of those. We're stronger now. Then we go back to the D at the beginning, and again we have the same shape. Ba da da da. Little jump. Sorry, little jump, big jump, little jump, big jump, slide down, little jump, big jump, little jump, big jump, slide down. Gosh, this is a lot harder than normal just because of that silly voice that I've got at the moment. But same thing. And then we get pretty much the same thing for the next bit.
My heart still beats, and my skin still feels, my lungs still breathe, my mind still
feels. We get a little bit of an extra thing on fears there. I haven't actually written it in, but I heard it there. Fears. Not quite. My mind still fears. Alright. And then we get this second part of our verse, don't we? Which is slightly different.
But we're running out of time.
So that's where we get these B's, because we get perfect fifth harmony the whole time. This is pretty rare, rare to get it this apparent in vocal harmonies. Strange, and then they jump both up. But we're running out of time. And that's an extension on that F chord. Oh no, sorry, there. So we get all the notes of an F chord plus that E at the top. So again, our added fourth note, if you like. And then they both come down, but they don't come down in fifths, they come down in thirds. So a little bit nicer on the way out.
All the echoes in my mind cry.
And then for some reason we don't get the fifths on all the echoes in my mind. We could do, it would sound like that. We get them on, but we're running out of time. But we don't get them on all the echoes in my mind. Why? I don't know. But then we get a nice, big triad on cries. Nice. Same harmony for all of that. Those 4 chords. Again, we're back to 4 chord sequences here, like in most songs. Well, like in lots and lots of songs, but not in the previous song, and not in Under Stars either. Okay, next section. Okay, let's just stop there for a moment. We've got a new chord, which is a B flat chord. Now we had a C, and we knew that we had B's in there's a B in the harmony, but now we have B flat in the harmony straight away in this chord. It's that boo, but here we had right. You get the idea? So we've gone to that chord. It feels like quite a departure in that way. The notes that the melody is singing, they're notes we would get anyway. D, there's D in the lower one and F in the higher one. But the B flat in the accompaniment, that is a new note, quite an unexpected change. That's from that slightly brighter beginning Dorian kind of sound, or A minor kind of sound, to more of a dark D minor sound now.
My mind cried.
Here it comes again.
There's blood on your lies, the skies
And it's emphasized by the second chord, G minor.
up and wide. There's
So already we've got like 6 different chords in this song, more than we normally get. But yeah, that G minor also has the B flat in, so we get the B flat in the B flat chord, and then the B flat in the G minor chord, before we finally get back to our D minor chord.
nowhere for you to hide. The hunt is moon is shining.
And then we do get D and F, like we've heard before. We just don't then go back to the A minor. So the A minor is kind of indicative of that first area, whereas the B flat major is indicative of this second section. As far as the melody, I mean, it's in, yeah, pretty close thirds most of the time, with a little bit of fourths, and then it drops out for there is nowhere for you to hide. Interesting there how we have those big gaps. There is big gap, nowhere for you to hide, and we just get those individual notes repeated, up down, up down, up down. Another wavy figure. Really fond of those, Aurora. And then we get it in thirds, but then it's longer, that keeping longer notes. The hunter's moon is shining. All right, same thing though. How do these notes fit with the harmony? Well, they're pretty nice on this first one. Blood on your lies. That's the added major 7 again. So, oh, that's the one. Blood on your lies. The sky's open wide. That's fun because we have this big jump on pen of open. Yeah, is it deliberately emphasizing pen? Probably not, but it's a nice switch up to what's been going on before. Skies open. It's very different to blood on your lies, which is moving stepwise. Da 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 da. That's a big jumpy figure. Wide. Da da da. We get another of those nice melismas, and we get it repeated in both the parts, which is lovely. Yeah, loads of cool classic sort of shapes there for Aurora. What's going on in the chorus?
running with the wolves tonight. I'm running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight. I'm running with the wolves. I'm running with the
Same harmony, but it's not just in the guitar now. We've got it up the octave. Something like that. Maybe it's up another octave as well. Hard to tell sometimes, but it's in the synths as well, so it's really bright, shiny sound, and that's still going. That's got a fun rhythm to it, by the way, as well. It's mainly in threes. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and then we have that little pause before we then repeat on a new chord. So slightly against the 1 2 3 4 that's normally going here. Great stuff. The melody going with that. Running with the wolves. Oh gosh, my voice. Wolves tonight. Okay, so we have that major 7, which, you know, we're kind of getting used to that being a common note in Aurora's melodies now. And then it falls to the 6, which is still not a chord note, so it's quite comfortable, but it's just interestingly not a chord note. It could go, I'm running with the wolves tonight, which is actually what it does the second time. I'm running with the wolves tonight. That time it does fall to that. What would it do? Wolves tonight. Does that sound particularly offensive on that D minor chord? No, I don't think so. I think what we really are going for here is just diversity. One sounds good and the other sounds good. Having both the same sounds a little bit worse, even though the harmony doesn't fit the first one, but it does fit the second one. Well, maybe that makes the second one feel like more of a climax, whereas the first one is maybe just building towards that moment. I would say kind of is, but I'm trying not to talk about harmonic movement and get into the weeds with that stuff. But you may feel like that. Tell me if you feel like that. We've got a much more static melody here, haven't we? It's mainly on da, 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 da. We move down one note, da, 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 and then we do have this slight bit of playfulness, da. And again, those, well, if that was an extended note in that chord, it's especially so in the G minor chord that it's a 9, which then goes to an 11. Okay, so that's a really extended chord, crazy stuff. Really making no effort to match the chord. And then we get thirds, which then aren't thirds. The lower harmony moves down for this chord before the main notes move down. So that's a nice crunchy moment where we get an extended minor 9 on that D minor chord as well. I don't know, little crunchy things, and then we get the same kind of fun figure of jumping up. It's the same in that one with the lower harmony, pretty similar, and that actually fits very nicely on the F chord. So I'm starting to lose faith in the premise that we would expect the melody to match the chords. That seems to basically be true a random amount of the time. And then this first one we have I'm running with the going on into the next bit. Just gonna get myself a bit more water off screen. Oh, a pitiful amount. Never mind, I shall make do. But yeah, it doesn't say wolves that last time, does it? Because we've already moved on. We've got I'm running with the, sorry, I'm running with the, and we're on to the next section. So we've already run with the wolves enough, 4 times. Yeah, fun. And then we're back to this beginning section, this verse section.
Trick or treat.
This time, not following the ba da da da. Don't even come in at the right time. We come in too late. 1, 2, ba. That's where it's meant to come, but this is 1, 2, trick. Different note, different contour, altogether different. And we add that extra note on the top as well. Trick or treat.
I'm running with the trick or treat.
Yeah, just an extra voice coming in for that extra note, which is a nice touch. I think, yeah, the voices in this particular section, they have this sort of ghostly feel to them, which I think is really nice.
What would it be?
Oh, but then we go straight back to the shape after that. Nice.
I walk alone. I'm everything.
Yeah, slightly faster coming down there. But thing rather than thing, right? And we also get the high harmony on it as well, which is a 6th and then a 5th. Fun stuff. Yeah, again, talking about how, it could just be 6th there, or it could just be 5ths, but they choose to switch between. Sometimes there is a tasteness to that, and here it does match the chord before, and then it matches the chord afterwards. So that's definitely why it's done here. It was harder to explain why it was done in Runaway, I think. Let's move on, keep it on going. What's happening in the next part of the verse?
My ears can hear.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Da 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 da, but with that extra note added. And this time it's in time with the melody note.
And my mouth can speak.
That's my favourite bit, really. Parallel fifths, and they fit the first chord, that F chord, and they go up for an escape note, and then they go down. That escape note new, by the way, it's not happened before. We normally go speak, don't we? But it's speak, adding an extra note there, and then coming down to this one with the A minor chord. Although speak fits, but the B is definitely an added note to that chord. Strange choice, interesting, but a little bit, yeah, eerie.
My spirit talks.
And it's corrected by then. My spirit talks, in time for the C major that comes afterwards.
I know my soul believes.
Again, believes, but that time we waited, didn't we? It wasn't believes. Okay. Yeah. Verse part 2.
Running out of time.
Okay, this time we didn't have the parallel fifths on the top. Sad. We did get a little bit of extra harmony even so. And now we get an There's that B again. So we got that only a couple of times this round, and they were in different moments to the previous section, but they nonetheless made themselves apparent. It would be really nasty if we kept the B flat on that speak. If we went, my mouth can speak. Yeah.
All the echoes in my mind cry.
Yeah, good, powerful, very similar. And then this pre-chorus is pretty much the same, so let's jump over it. Yeah, 145. So interestingly, this version doesn't have that lower harmony. That's the main difference with this particular one. It doesn't have the lower harmony, so it feels slightly maybe clearer, but also less less impactful, or less dynamic than the first version. And then it comes in here, and that's nice because it didn't occur on this first. Oh, I'm really out of tune with that. That's probably why I've been having such a problem. Why have I only just noticed? But yeah, with that B flat chord, that added E on the B flat chord is really nice, and then they both resolve, but that makes not a B flat chord, but more like a G minor chord. Cool. Don't think I explained that very clearly, but do ask me a question if you want about it, and I'll try and explain a bit clearer in some kind of message. Yeah, then we have this super strange bridge part. Basically, yeah, got a sort of low D, sort of resonating around in the area with some pretty unclear notes in the voices here. It's the same rhythm as there is nowhere you to hide, but we're not doing that da da rhythmic pattern here. Yeah, so in fact I can hear that there's a higher one on these as well. It's like a C, and then on incomplete it goes up. But yeah, we've got this low, almost spoken one. Gift, a curse, they track and hurt, and then we've got gift, a curse, they track and hurt. They say you could do it. So even though that sounds spoken in the thing, it's clearly not. It's clearly a deliberate movement up the scale. Alright. And then we have this higher one, which is slightly more confusing, because it starts on "Gift a ghastly dragon," and it goes up at a different time to the other one that's going up, and then it comes back down again. Yes, Silent Dreams. There's a kind of interesting rhythm on Silent Dreams, isn't there? Silent Dreams. Not Silent Dreams, but Silent Dreams. Where hope is left so incomplete, and it just builds and builds this unearthly chord, weird, strange chord. If we were to give that a name, because we've got a D at the bottom, that's the most important thing, and we've got the A for that as well. We've got a G above that, so that's the 11th, and then we've got the B flat, which is the flat 13th. So we're not looking very strongly like a D, but we do get a D at the top as well eventually after that C resolves itself. But yeah, I don't know, what could you call this chord? We've basically got two, we've got a D by itself, and then in the middle we've got an A, a B flat and a G. So I would probably call it G minor in second inversion with an added ninth if I had to. If you're interested in that kind of thing, go and kick some grass or something. It's not interesting stuff. Okay, second part of the bridge. Okay, so we've got the harmony from the pre-chorus again. You know, maybe this is something she's doing specifically, using the pre-chorus harmony. Then again, this is also the harmony from the chorus in this particular song, so there's nothing too unusual about using it again in another section. But maybe using pre-chorus harmony for the bridge is a good way to bridge back into the chorus for the final bit. Let's keep an eye on whether that happens in future ones. We've got a new melody, pretty straightforward, scale down and then a jump back up, and then that's used in counterpoint, hooray, with "I'm running with the," which I have forgotten to write in here, but it's "I'm running with the," and then it's "I'm running with the wolves." So that is the melody from the chorus, even with the the jumpy thing that we use in the chorus, but here it's used much lower in the range. That's where it is in the chorus. Here it's basically a whole octave lower. But then as we hit the second repetition, also we got on the fourth repetition there, so doing something slightly different there. Then as we get back to the beginning of the shape, beginning to the B minor chord, okay, we ramp it up. We go from down here, we move it up a bit more, a bit more, and then even more, really. We've moved those jumpy bits up an octave by the time we get there. So in 4 different shelves we've moved it up. Same shape. Da 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 da. Dee 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 dee. Dee 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 dee. And then that last one is slightly different. Dee 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 dee. So, but pretty similar all the way. And yeah, a real dedication to that counterpoint, having one melody and then the next melody filling the space after it. So they really overlap in a lovely consecutive way. Yeah, and the other melody is in thirds, the second half. which makes it sound nicer. But interestingly, that melody isn't changing with the harmony, is it? It stays exactly the same no matter what the harmony is going on. So we get which is kind of fine because it sounds great over that. Well, that's the 7th, so they added 4th note. Doesn't sound too aggressive. Yeah, sounds great. Partly deliberately, well chosen chords or well chosen melody to fit those chords. But this is an example of something I was thinking about today when I was tabbing out Blackwater Lilies. Spoilers, Blackwater Lilies has very static parts, lots of things which don't change from bar to bar. Similar to this. This is an example of an ostinato texture, or a specifically static ostinato kind of framework over which harmonic changes can happen, despite the harmonic changes not being adhered to by the ostinatos. Ostinato, by the way, just means like a repeated melody, just a small bit of melody that repeats. They're often used as accompanying rather than as the main melody, but sometimes they are the main melody. Anyway, just a little bit of that there, and then back to the chorus. Let's see what goes on. And it suddenly feels massive. Part of that is because we've got everything that we had in the previous chorus, which was already as electrified as possible, and then we've got these thirds. We've got these thirds again. So they're carrying on from the verse into the chorus now. They weren't in the chorus before, so that's something new. And then we get a higher harmony. We don't get the lower harmony. We don't get I'm running with the wolves tonight. Here we get I'm running with the wolves tonight. So we get a higher harmony, an even bigger extension on that chord. We had the major 7, now we've got the 9 like in the previous one. Cool. And then we get I'm running with the wolves. So that, which is ostensibly a G minor chord in the accompaniment, the melody says it's an F major chord because it's going spelling out that chord. So we get that chord at the same time as we get that. Can I do that? Not really. I don't have the dexterity. That's a shame. Yeah, alright, I'll do it that way. Yeah. So it's a really big, complicated chord with basically 6 different notes in it at any given time. And so it feels massive, and there's no resolution to it. It just keeps that way. So there we do get the lower harmony. I've not written it in, but you can just about hear it. I'm running with the wolves tonight. So we get that on there, and the woo, as well as woo. And then we get this beautiful descant. Can I get my beautiful wife to sing this? Like that, right? Just a bit like that.
With you?
No.
No, with you doing that other bit.
Oh, what? You want me to do? I'm running with the wolves.
Yeah.
And then you slide all the way up to the A sharp.
Slide it, do I?
I'm running with the wolves. Yeah, you're going. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm running with the wolves. That's it. Fantastic,
yeah,
fantastic.
like
Thank you very much. We've got some more of that coming up. Just so you know. Yeah. Really cool new melody with that 6th jump, which I guess we got at the beginning. Da 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 da. It's kind of the same thing, but it's a kind of major version for this F major here. Yeah, really fun stuff. Great. Also, these R's have actually become more plentiful underneath as well. So it wasn't just that they were added to an already full section. but they've got more complicated. We've got triadic harmony. Yeah, great stuff. It's really cool. Going between that D minor chord and the F chord. Yeah. No, sorry, D minor and C chord. D minor and C chord. So they're constantly going from this. Or. Oh gosh. There we go. Yeah, going between those ones. It's really cool. They do less in the next section, I believe. No, they are still there. I just haven't written it in. Now, so we've got mainly these higher harmonies again, but we've got this descant continuing on. And it's so good there. So we get this G minor chord. Again, we've got this F major chord on top of it. Right, gosh, it's so complicated. And then we've got the one note that we didn't have in the harmony is added, which is that. It's this E on the top. So we go, I'm running with it. And it's so amazing. Just for a brief moment, like a full 7-note chord there. Massive, crazy stuff. And what would you expect that? Aurora's just always taken more risks with out there music than basically any person doing the same kind of music as her, I think. You know, I point me to another. It's crazy. You know, I try to keep abreast of these things as well. I know I'm relatively old, but certainly no one in the OO's doing this kind of thing. Yeah, then we get down to D minor chord again. Yeah, our number 1 chord. And then we get we don't have. Well, let's hear it. Yeah, maybe we do again have that lower harmony there. Wolves tonight and wolves tonight. But what's dominating is that continued increase in pitch of the descant, which is again like the I'm running with the. It's like that, isn't it? But it's up in this stratospheric range now. And then even higher. Oh my goodness. Yeah, wow. And the ooh, I've just thought is like a wolf, isn't it? Ooh. It's especially like the wolves you used to play in Zelda Twilight Princess, if anyone did that, where you'd have to sing songs to your ghost wolf self. It was beautiful, if occasionally absolutely stupid. But yeah, we get that F chord with the C. Can we have a C? And sliding up to a D. Oh. Fantastic. And that D then is not in that F chord. It's reminding us that we are going back to a D, and we kind of do. Let's hear it. Yeah, the things that are echoing in the harmony, we've got that D at the top, and we've got the da of the harmony. Da. So really, it will almost end on a G minor chord, but the G there doesn't have nearly as much sway as the A and the D, which make up our D chord. So we finish on a D chord, and that's kind of. So I mean, you can argue with me if you like, but I've already done the argument as well. So you might have something new to say, but we're on a D chord at the end there, even though the harmony is not really that what that says. It feels like a D chord. It feels like a finish, despite it being that we've got this F chord and it's really massive, and then it suddenly dissipates. But it doesn't feel like an F chord that it leaves us with, because these last harmonies overlap the end of the bar, and leave us with a different sort of slightly more finished taste, I would say. Wow, yeah, the descant bringing us up to the top D. I don't know if Aurora does this live. I haven't seen a video of it, and I haven't actually seen Aurora live, sad to say. But I hear that Mexico thing is getting broadcast, so I'll hopefully go on along and see that in a cinema. But yes, I mean, what to say about this one? Got interesting arpeggiated figures from time to time, and then other times we've got very, very stepwise, straightforward movement. But yeah, the use of arpeggios and the use of these parallel fifths, quite special. Overall, yeah, I don't think this one has that much out there stuff. It feels a little safer, a little more comfortable, and we've got a few more maybe classic tropes. That said, the approach to harmony is a lot more sort of complicated. The relationship between the melody parts and the harmony parts built off the melody and the actual harmony is often quite thick and sticky in a way that we don't normally get. So there are some really interesting moments like that Wolves where we get all 7 notes. What will it sound like if I just play MuseScore here? Pretty good. If it could play, it would be great. Yeah, lots of fun stuff I've thought of but haven't put into motion. A thing that I will do for next time, I think, where I will have a spreadsheet and it will have we'll put in each song as we go along, and we'll be like, we're trying to build up a top 10 for each category, really. And we'll even do it for rhythm, although I haven't said that much about rhythm, and there's definitely a wealth to be explored there. But it'll be a texture, an instrumentation, a structure, a harmony, and a melody thing. And as we go through, we will build up a top 10, and we will smack people out of the top 10 as people come across. Currently, I think, what are we saying for melody? What's got the most interesting melody? I think it probably, for me, it would be Under Stars, and then it would be Runaway after that, and then probably Running the Wolves, then Awakening, then Puppet. And for harmony, what shall we say? Well, yeah, it's hard to argue with Running of the Wolves for highest harmony so far. I think Under Stars would be next because of its unconventional way it uses harmony, where we've got long periods of time with the same chord, and yeah, again, the melody just never matching. And yeah, the upper structures, of course, as well. Constant upper structures of vocal harmonies, which make more difference than the actual lower note. Anyway, we're not talking about Under Stars right now, but yeah, we would have Running with the Wolves, Under Stars, Runaway, I guess, and then Puppet, and then the other one, Awakening. So we would have them in that order for that. So yeah, I mean, Under Stars is looking like our most interesting one in that respect. Is it also texturally? Maybe not texturally, but certainly structurally, I think it still is. So yeah, of these first 5, Under Stars is definitely sticking out as something more special, quite special, I would say. Then again, you know, obviously it's not got a billion streams, has it? Whatever. Have a lovely life and a lovely day, and may good graces hit you in the right part of your abdomen succinctly.